recording, please just turn off your video. So I'd like to introduce the speaker for our workshop tonight, who is Professor Cabiles. She's one of the three, of course, that puts G.R.O.W together. So Professor Cabiles is quite the Renaissance woman. She has feet in 2 departments at DVC. So she teaches both in the business administration department, and she also teaches in the computer science department. And I know quite a few people here are in the G.R.O.W program, and Professor Cabiles has taught at G.R.O.W as well. She's been teaching at DVC since 2007. She also serves as the faculty lead for our new Student Interest Area Center. So if you haven't been there, I know some of you have. If you haven't been there, it's a student center that is for students across DVC, but focuses on business administration, computer science, and culinary arts students, and it's in BFL 107 through 109. So if you get a chance, please stop by. And I believe, and maybe Professor Cabiles can talk about this after her presentation, I believe there is an ice cream social in the future. So you might want to definitely come for that. So without further ado, I'm going to let Professor Cabiles talk about how to ace your virtual interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Worsham. It's good to see everybody. Hope everybody is well. So today we are going to talk about virtual interviews and what you can do to prepare, and also prepare, and then during, and then after. So so let me go ahead and share my screen. Like Professor Worsham said, I am on campus throughout the week, but mostly on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and on for the rest of the semester, which is going to be next Tuesday. And then the following week, we are going to have refreshments in our student center. So if you're on campus, come by to BFL 107 or 109, and we'll be there. So look forward to seeing you. Let me share my screen. Here we go. So today we are going to talk about your virtual interview. A lot of employers are doing virtual interviews now. And it's a way for them to kind of do a screening interview, but also get to see you. Before we used to do it on the phone, but now, of course, you know, now with the different modes of online software, we can do it virtually online. So, so today we are going to talk about preparing for the interview, skills employers look for during the interview, some typical interview questions, and what to do after the interview. So virtual interviews, they're here to stay. The reason why is because it saves companies time and money. It saves both you and the employer travel costs. There's flexibility in scheduling. It's convenient, and it expands the candidate pool. So now we're just not looking at just people who are in the Bay Area. They can look at people that are out of state or farther, you know, across the country. So preparing for the interview, whether it's virtual or if it's face-to-face, make sure you do your research on the company, review the company website, be familiar with what the company is known for, locations, local, national, global. If they're in the news, do they have new products, innovations, or research? Know the position that you applied for. Review the job description, know the job requirements, brush up on knowledge and information in that field or industry. Now that we have the internet, you have a lot of tools at your hand to research companies. Another way to look for information on a company is look at their LinkedIn. A lot of companies are on there. You can see how many employees work there, what kind of job openings they have, what kind of new things they're doing. So in order to prepare for your interview, think about the skills that employers are looking for. They're looking for people who are organized, who have good time management, good communicators, somebody who can explain something to somebody else or show them how to do it, especially virtually, who are motivated. Also in communication, if you speak more than one language, it's nice for them to know because they might have clients in different countries, and then you would be somebody who could help communicate with them. Discipline, routines, and process. You want to make sure that you can explain things and how you solve those problems. And then knowing technology is always helpful. So I'm going to share a video with you on this person. It was an article from Wall Street Journal, and they talked about how to ace your video interview. So let me share my screen, another screen, and then after that you can watch the video. Can you see the other screen? Yes, okay.
This is what a virtual interview looks like. This is what it feels like.
Interviews are already nerve-wracking, but when you throw a video element into it, it becomes that much more anxiety-inducing for a lot of people.
That's Ashley Anderson. She's a certified career coach and remote working pro. She's been doing it for 10 years.
I specialize in helping job seekers transition from traditional office jobs into telecommute roles.
With many of us home now, chances are your next interview will be done through a screen. And, well,
it's really hard to make that connection with the interviewer. But one of the best ways you can do that is to present really well.
And she's here, virtually, to teach you how to do just that. Not this.
Step 1, set the scene. So ideally, you want to have a nice, clean, simple background. Just the blank wall is perfectly fine. You also want to think about lighting. For example, if you have lighting behind you, you could end up looking like a silhouette on the screen. Ideally, natural lighting is the best. So if you have a window that you can face or a window to your side, that would be perfect. But also, if you don't have a window to provide natural lighting, you can resort to using a desk lamp. And you really want to have your camera at eye level with you. That way you're not looking up at the interviewer and they're peering up your nostrils, and you're also not looking down on them. If you just grab a couple of books and pile them up and sit the laptop on top of that, that is going to raise it enough to bring that camera right at the eye level for you. Step 2, plan your outfit. Do a little bit of research about the company so you know what their culture is going into it. You don't want to show up to your virtual interview in a really nice suit if they're a very casual company. Keep your ensemble really basic. Don't go for really busy patterns, and try to stay away from solid colors that are really bright, as those can kind of wash you out on screen. So you might not necessarily consider your headphones as being an accessory or part of your everyday outfit, but it's something that you definitely need to consider not using when you are getting prepared for a remote interview. When you think of somebody with headphones in, there's somebody that's unapproachable and somebody that you don't want to speak to. So forego using the headphones and just stick with using the external speakers, microphones that you have on your computer.
Hello.
Step 3, test your tech. Making sure that your webcam is working, your speakers are working.
Hi, this is a test.
And another super important thing is your internet. You really need to make sure you have enough internet speed. Generally speaking, programs like Zoom prefer 1.8 megabits per second in order to stream a one-on-one video call. And you can easily test your internet speed going on Google and just typing speed test, and you'll get tons of different options. If you're relying on Wi-Fi, that's kind of a little inconsistent with the connectivity. You can always just invest in an Ethernet cable, plug that directly into your computer and into your modem, and you're going to have a much more stable internet connection. Step 4 is practice.
Hey.
And a great way to do that is just to, use a friend or a family member who's willing to hop on a video call with you. It really makes all the difference. And especially when it comes to eye contact, our tendency is to look down on the screen, but what that actually looks like on the other side is that you're looking away and not genuinely looking at the person that you're talking to. So it's always important to practice and look directly into the camera. If you get easily distracted by your own image on the screen, a really simple thing you can do to avoid that is just use a post-it note and cover up your own image. That way you're not going to be distracted by it and it's out of sight and out of mind. Step 5, interview. It's inevitably going to happen that a distraction may come around. So don't ever panic when something happens. The more that you do, or if you make a quick decision to turn off your audio or your video as a knee-jerk reaction, that can actually be more detrimental than the actual distraction itself. But if it does cause the interviewer to get interrupted with what they're doing, you definitely want to address it and not pretend like it didn't happen. You want to make sure that you're able to say, oh, my bad, that happened, and move forward after that. When you're at home, even when you're on an interview, you kind of have that more casual atmosphere than actually going into an office building to interview. And with that casual feeling, you might end up doing something that you wouldn't even think of in an office setting. For example, having your phone out. So just turn it off and put it out of sight, and make sure you have all of your internet browsers and windows closed. You don't need that open. Really, the only thing you should have open on your computer during the interview is the program that you're using to conduct the interview. Remote interviews and video interviews are a lot different. They really are. But as they become more mainstream, it's important that we adapt and adjust to them. That way we can still continue on with our careers and making career moves and not letting the fear of video interviews hold us back.
So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Let's go. So I'm going to share some of the important points that she mentioned. So setting, choose an ideal location. Like she mentioned, good lighting, natural lighting is best. Make sure there's no clutter around you or behind you. And then check your technology. Understand the platform that you'll be asked to use, whether it's Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of different ones now, and they work just a little bit different. Be sure to test your microphone and camera. And then, like she mentioned, turn off all apps or hide screens that you don't need. So you can just focus on the interview. Secure your pets or limit distractions and noise. One thing I do want to mention is, besides the interview, try to think about what you bring to the company. Get started on developing your brand, and you can do this way before the interview. Start to clean up your social media. Create a brand statement. Everybody likes certain brands for different reasons. You might have a favorite shampoo or toothpaste. Why do you like that? So think about, what you would bring to the company. You can create a theme for yourself. Think of 2 or 3 specific examples of how your experience is related to the job, and include something personal about your interest in that position. The employer wants to know you as a person, and your values, your passion, and even your life experience. So I have an example here actually from G.R.O.W, and this person has their profile here. So, and branding is part of marketing yourself, having your online presence on LinkedIn or Twitter. Then demonstrate your skills and knowledge about a particular subject or field. And actually in one of the classes that I'm teaching, they're working on their resume. And she said, can I put my LinkedIn on my resume? And I said, yes, of course. But remember when you put your LinkedIn profile there, I'm sure potential employers are going to they're going to click on it and see what you have on your LinkedIn. So preparation for the interview, professional appearance, which they talked about in the video. Keep your desk clean. Your background should be clean and uncluttered. Put your cell phone away. Have your notes, including your resume and cover letter. If you're facing a wall, you can put notes behind your laptop so that you're not looking down. Personal appearance, keep it professional. Dress as if you were on an on-site interview. Be camera ready. Solid colors look best. And then practice and record your answers to questions and play back those answers to see how you can improve. So in Zoom, we can record ourselves. And then after that, you can always listen to it and then say, okay, does it sound like, am I saying everything that I want to say to answer a question? And we'll have some questions about that you can start to think about for a future interview. And then during the interview, maintain good eye contact, maintain good posture, speak slowly and clearly, be respectful and engaged, and then try to smile. I know that you're nervous, but you just try to smile, look into the camera and try not to look down, and do your best to make a positive impression. So I'm going to introduce some typical interview questions. And there's always 5 that most interviewers ask. First one is, tell me about yourself. The second one is, why do you want this job? Third one is, what is your biggest accomplishment? Fourth one is, what else have you applied for? Or where else have you applied? And 5, do you have any questions? So these are typical interview questions, and you should have an answer for each and every one of these. So let's look at each of them. So the first one is, tell me about yourself. Now, what do you think the interviewer wants to know? I'm sure they want to know a little bit about you. It's also, this is an icebreaker. So to get you a little bit comfortable in sitting with the interviewer so they can get a little feel for you. So they also are looking to see if you're a good fit for the company or the department. So start to think about this question by preparing a short statement about things that you've done related to the job. Make it relevant, highlight your skills, education, knowledge, and experience. If you attended Professor Tran's elevator speech, that's a perfect time to introduce your elevator speech. The interviewer wants to know what motivates you and why you want to work for them. Okay. Another question, why do you want this job? Know as much as possible about the position that you applied for and the company. Do your research. Focus on what you can do for the company, specific skills and abilities for that job. For example, if you have technical skills, computer skills, customer service skills, interpersonal soft skills. That can be used in all jobs, communication, teamwork, problem solving, things like that. Highlight the reasons why you're the right candidate and show your enthusiasm about the position and confirm your ability to work hard. So I always think of an interview as a two-way communication. You're the interviewee, of course, because you're looking for the position, but you're also seeing if it's a good fit for you. So they're interviewing you and you are also interviewing them. So be prepared as much as possible and know why you want the job. Even if you feel like, oh, I know you're a great company and I've heard a lot of good things and I've heard that many of your employees are very happy here and I would love to work, with people who are very positive. You can say something like that. Think about what your biggest accomplishment is to date. Focus on relevant work-related or educational achievements. And reflect on important experiences. Times when you worked on team projects, academic or extracurricular achievements, mentoring other people or volunteering in different ways. A company might ask you, where else have you applied? They like to, maybe they might ask you this if they want to know how interested you are in their position, how serious and focused you are about your job search. They may also be interested in the types of jobs you're applying for, which may be similar to the positions that they have and the same sort of industry or work environment. And it's best to respond in non-specifics with an answer that confirms your interest. So something that you might be able to use as an answer could be, I applied for other jobs in the area that also involve teamwork and strong customer service orientation. And at the end of the interview, the interviewer will ask you if you have any questions. So make sure you have a couple of insightful questions and be ready to ask. Some simple things that you can ask is about the work environment, some of the job expectations if they don't bring it up, and prepare those answers ahead of time. Here's some questions here in our presentation. What are the company's biggest challenges and how is it placed to meet those challenges? What are future plans for growth and development? How would you describe the work environment at the company? What type of employees are most successful in this company? How does the company measure success on the job? What sort of opportunities are there for advancement within the company? So think about some questions that are, that you might be interested in knowing about this organization that you're interviewing with. Some simple questions too is like, if you're going to work in a specific department, how does, what's the work kind of like structure like? So the questions you want to ask are going to be specific to the position and the job, but it's not the time to talk about salary or benefits because you haven't received the offer yet. You're still interviewing for the position. So after your interview, whether it's virtual, in person, or however mode that you're going to be in by phone, I guess that still can be, still can happen. Take a few minutes to jot down what questions you felt you aced and where you could have been better. These notes can serve as a valuable guide for future interviews. And follow up. A thank you note or email message can reveal your commitment to the position. So I think I didn't say this, but when you're being interviewed, make sure that you know whoever is interviewing you, their name, their title, their email address, and it's not a bad thing to ask for it ahead of time. You know, as you start the interview, when they say, "Tell me about yourself," you can ask them, "Can I get all of your names and email addresses?" And then you can also send them a message, or you can send them a thank you card. I have a friend who after his interview always took notes. And it's really funny because then he moved on to a different job. And I said, when you interviewed for, the job that I knew where he worked, I said, do you remember what questions they asked you? And he said, let me look at my notes. And I said, wow, he has notes, that about that position and what he interviewed for. And I'm sure that he was interviewing for a lot of different jobs at the same time. But he said, let me look at my notes. And he did jot down, what they asked him, specific things, so that he could be prepared for a future interview. So I'm going to help you with this. I have a sheet, and it's called an interview cheat sheet. And I'm going to send you the link inside of our chat. And then you can download it and you can keep it, and we can look at it together actually. So let me know if you guys have a problem opening it. Maybe Professor Tran can try and tell me if there's any issue in opening it. And I'm gonna actually share my screen on a different screen so we can look at it together. So let me.
I was able to open it, Miss.
Okay,
just want to let
perfect.
you know I was able.
Thank you. So I'm gonna share it on a different screen so we can look at it a little bit bigger. And I can tell you that when you're applying for other jobs, this could be very helpful. You can see it on the screen. Yeah, okay, thank you. So you can actually type on this form. You can put the company name here on the top, the job title you applied for, the interviewer's name, and then the interviewer's job title. If there's more interviewers, then you can just write it on the back of the sheet or on the bottom of the sheet. About the company, you can write down the mission statement, products and services that they have, who's the CEO, the culture, recent news. And this is kind of for you to kind of get a feeling about what the company is about, and if, to make small talk too. And then about yourself, you can already fill this out with your elevator speech, relevant experience, your strengths, your weaknesses, and why are you applying for this role in this company. So one thing about weaknesses, when I identify my weakness, I also identify how I overcame it. So for example, I always had a fear in the past of public speaking. And so how did I overcome that? I had to practice, and know what I was going to say beforehand. So identify that weakness, but also how you improved and came out of that weakness. You can also have your questions down here on the bottom left for the company. What questions you want to ask them that you've thought about as you were reading the job description, as you were applying for the job, as you were reading about the company, things that you wanted to know. And then some questions to prepare for. So tell me about a time where you made a mistake, handled a difficult situation, went above and beyond, or stepped up as a leader. So these are all these on the bottom right side are behavioral questions. How did you behave? What did you do? How did you solve it? What was your solution? You know, especially if there was conflict, or you knew that you had, you know, a difficult situation. How are you going to handle that? You know, or what did you do and how did you resolve it? So, and the employer will ask you these questions because they want to know how you think. How would you, you know, solve a problem? What would you do, you know, when you made a mistake? You know, we've all made mistakes, right? So what did you do? You know, and how did you resolve that? You know, how did you find that solution? So even if you had to look for it online, that's a solution for a problem, right? So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and you guys have a copy of this. Use it for every job you apply for so that you're prepared every time. And then I also have another sheet for you. I don't know if I have it up. And it's called 50 Common Interview Questions. And this one has the answers. And so let me see if I can, oops, I went too far. Let me see if I can open it. Let me do a, and then I can share some of the questions with you. Let's see if I can, let me. Here it goes. Let's go to that. So it has some of the questions actually that we've talked about, and then a lot more. So let me show you the questions. And there are a lot of things that you could actually start thinking about how you would answer different things. One thing I do want to mention is that because we've gone through this pandemic, there's been a lot of things that we had to adjust in our lives. And those are things that you might want to explain during an interview if it comes up, you know, so here's a question and the answer. Tell me about yourself, which we've already talked about. Why did you leave your job? What experience do you have in this field? Do you consider yourself successful? What would coworkers say about you? I've seen this also, you know. I would hope that they would say that I'm a good, you know, a good person and that I can solve problems or that I would help other people. Think about that. What do you know about this organization? You can use the cheat sheet and look up information online, look at their LinkedIn and get information about the company. What have you done to improve your knowledge in the last year? All of you are taking classes. So you can talk about some of the classes that you're taking. Are you applying for other jobs? We talked about that a little bit. Why do you want to work for this organization? I mean, what attracted you to that position, especially now where we have that great resignation people are talking about? There's a lot of opportunity out there, you know, and people want to know why you want to work for that specific company. Do you know anyone who works for us? So you might know some people and maybe that's how you got the referral to apply for the position there. What kind of salary do you need? Be careful in answering that question. Are you a team player? How long would you expect to work for us if hired? I don't know. Yeah, it might come up, so you can tell them, Um, have you ever had to fire anyone? And how did you feel about it? If you were in a supervisory or management position, that may have happened. What's your philosophy towards work? If you had enough money to retire, would you? Have you ever been asked to leave a position? So that's one of the questions that if you had that situation and you were asked, you explain it, and then after that, you go to the next question. Explain how you would be an asset to the organization. Why should we hire you? Tell me about a suggestion you've made. What irritates you about coworkers? Even if it's something that really, maybe you could just try to think of something positive, how working in a team sometimes gets challenging, right? So what's your greatest strength? So numerous answers are good, just stay positive. Some examples include your ability to prioritize, your problem-solving skills, your ability to work under pressure, focusing on projects, your professional expertise, your leadership skills, your positive attitude. Tell me about your dream job. So don't identify a specific job, but start to think about maybe an ideal, place where you worked, where everybody got along, or, everybody had a good contribution to the work and to the workplace. Why do you think you do well at this job? So again, your skills, experience, and interest. What are you looking for in a job? So that's also related to about your dream job. What kind of person would you refuse to work with? So be careful on that one too. Here's an interesting one. What's more important to you, money or work? And it says money is always important, but the work is the most important. What would your previous supervisor say your strongest point is? And then you can pick one of these: loyalty, energy, positive attitude, and so on. Tell me about a problem that you had with your supervisor. And this can be a problem that both of you solved together. Okay. What has disappointed you about a job? And you can talk about there wasn't enough challenge, or you were laid off in a company reduction, or the company didn't win a contract, so then you were given more responsibility, and that can be a challenge. Tell me about your ability to work under pressure. All of you are students, you have a lot of deadlines, you have a lot of responsibilities. Talk about, how you juggle everything. How do you make it work? Do your skills match this job or another job more closely? So it would be hard to say, right? But hopefully the job that you're applying for, you have the skills to do it. What motivates you to do your best on the job? Think about that, getting projects done, working with others, solving problems, things like that. Are you willing to work overtime, nights and weekends? And it says, this is up to you. Be totally honest. How would you know you were successful on the job? And there's several ways, maybe creating high standards for yourself and meeting them, your outcomes, and your boss tells you that you're successful. This is really interesting to me. I have a coworker from many years ago, and he says, how do you know if I'm doing the right thing? And I said, well, if the boss isn't saying anything to you, this is what I said. I said, if he's not saying anything to you, then you're okay. But if there was a mistake or something was not right, he would point it out to you. So I said, I think you're okay, because he didn't say anything to us, say anything to you. So I think you're doing all right. Sometimes you have to ask, am I doing a good job? What more do you want me to learn or do once you get the position? Would you be willing to relocate if required? So think about that if you would. Are you willing to put the interests of the organization ahead of your own? And then describe management style. Describe your management style. What have you learned from mistakes on the job? Do you have any blind spots? So these are all questions that you could prepare for and answer ahead of time if it ever came up. If you were hiring a person for this job, what would you look for? Do you think you're overqualified for this position? Like we said, this is that time of the great resignation, and now they're hiring a lot of new people. You may be overqualified for some positions, but if you are, then state your interest of why you want to work for that organization and what you hope to gain, because they don't want to see you, lack interest in the position because you have a lot of qualifications. If you don't have a lot of experience, how do you propose to compensate for your lack of experience? All of you are going to school, you're all taking classes, you're all students. Think about how you could get better in the job by taking another class or improving your skills. Also, now we have a lot of the LinkedIn learning. So there's always continuous learning that we can get online. What kind of qualities do you look for in a boss? I think just make it positive. I always feel like if an employer can be fair to everyone, I think that would be, an ideal person that you can come to and talk to. Tell me about a time when you helped to resolve a dispute between others. And it could be, somebody that you're working with or a customer. What position do you prefer on a team when working on a project? And be honest, if you're a good coordinator, then that's maybe your role. If you're a good, leader, then you should say, you know what, I could be a leader in a project. Describe your work ethic. Especially now that a lot of jobs are remote, they want to know how you work. When we were talking about time management, organizational skills, those different things. What has been your biggest professional disappointment? You can talk about something maybe that may have happened. And then tell me the most fun you ever had on the job. I would probably think about times that, where people were getting along really well and worked together well. And then, do you have any questions for me? So that we go back to, do you have any questions for me? And I have this link here. I'm going to put this link in the chat. You can take a look at some of the questions and then see some of the questions. I mean, these are from a while back. So some of the questions, you have to think about the answer, how you would answer them. So let me go back. So any questions for me? Or any experiences that you guys want to share? Still have a little bit of time. Any tips that you have?
Professor Cabiles,
Yes.
what should somebody do if, for example, because of COVID, they lost their job
Mhm.
and they've been out of work for a while? How would you suggest they address that?
So if you have any gaps in employment, you can talk about how you're getting new skills coming back to school. You know, education is always this, you know, you're always improving yourself by going to class, taking, learning different skills. And so you can talk about that because it's really this opportunity for you to really just try to think about what your next steps are going to be and how to approach it. All of us during this time of COVID and being virtual, we had to all kind of find our solutions and pivot. And it's funny because the more we're more virtual, the more challenges we have, right?
Taking 2-0 lead over the Dallas Stars. Friday, 7 p.m. TNT, the Hurricanes and
Uh-oh.
Bruins. Boston at 7:30, and Toronto, Tampa on TBS tomorrow night.
So any solutions that you have, like on how you started to think about things in a different way, is always helpful. And dust off your elevator speech that you prepared with Professor Tran and put it on your cheat sheet so that you can remember every time. What did I say on the elevator speech? What kind of skills do I have? Where am I, what am I trying to go for? And what goals do I have, personal goals and professional goals that will meet the requirements of a position that I'm applying for?
Do you have any tips on overcoming nervousness or anxiety about interviewing?
I would say the best thing to do is practice. Practice your answers and be ready for whatever might come up. I had a friend actually, and she relocated to Southern California. So she interviewed with some colleges down there. And I believe she was one of those people who were a little bit overqualified. And she interviewed for the job that she applied for. And they actually told her, we have another position. Would you be interested in this other job? And she got the higher position with more responsibility, but which she was, she was qualified for. So she got the better job out of two. It was really interesting when she came back. She was telling us all about it, that she went down for this position and then after that she got the higher job. So, there's always, don't be afraid to tell them about yourself and really go for what you're looking for. That's a question in chat. And if you're nervous, then just be prepared. I think that that's the best thing. Think of an answer. And even if, like I said, one of my friends who writes down his answers after every interview, he goes, oh, I didn't think I answered that very well, but this is what I'm going to say next time. So at least you're kind of prepared for next time. And just like everything else that we do in life, practice, continue to practice, and you'll get better and better at it.
May I ask another question? Oh, we have a question.
Oh,
Great.
Aaron.
Aaron has a question.
Okay.
Good evening. How are you?
Hi, Aaron. How are you?
I'm all right. What you said when you asked, you kind of reminded me something. I went on an interview maybe like a few months ago, And the gentleman that I was interviewing with was just very like, how do I want to put this? Like kind of short, rude, kind of didn't want to be there. I don't, just one of those, wasn't very inviting or welcoming. So my question is, should I have just gotten up and left then? Or because I kind of didn't know what to do and it was really awkward. So I just kind of sat through it. And, it's one of those where I walked away. I was like, yeah, I didn't get that job. Not that I wanted it. So yeah, do you have any advice on that?
Well, like I said in the beginning, is you're also interviewing them, to know if it's a good fit for you. So if it didn't go the way that you planned, then maybe that was a good, a good reason for, not going forward in the process, I mean,
Definitely,
that's
yeah.
somebody that you could work with every day and that kind of thing. And things happen, we don't know everyone's situation. So we try to make the best of it, but we also know that, we want to be in an environment where we can grow and be, and learn something and be able to use it in the job and be productive. So if you feel that, maybe if that's the feeling that you got, then maybe it's a good thing that you didn't get called back, and you could look for a place where you feel that you're more comfortable, right?
Yeah. So should I have just like walked away or should I have just kind of sat down, like I did?
I think I would have sat down and I would have listened,
Okay.
So, and then just to, at least to your benefit, that you learned something from the situation, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we have a couple of minutes here. I do want to tell you about our student center. I don't have it's in the Business Foreign Language Building on campus in Pleasant Hill. And we are on the first floor and we're in 107. We have 3 rooms, 107, 108, and 109. If you're ever on campus, drop by. We haven't scheduled any summer hours, so we're there till the end of the semester. But if you if you have time, drop by. We received a grant where we can provide some nutritious snacks, and Professor Worsham always comes along over and brings us other other goodies too. So it's really nice, and we welcome all of you. We are going to have a grand opening in the fall semester, but since we received the grant this semester, we wanted to provide some. It's always going to be on Tuesdays because we have more students on campus on Tuesdays. So this upcoming Tuesday, we're going to have an ice cream social. And then during finals week, we'll have something every day so that you can drop by, get something to eat. Yes, last Tuesday we had pizza. And I was asking one of the students, I said, why don't you get pizza? And she's told me that day she didn't have anything to eat yet. So I said, oh, okay. So that's why we fought for the grant, because we want to make sure that we can help you guys stay healthy and be successful, of course, here when you're on campus. And so I try to have snacks there and different things for everyone. I have water and things like that. So come by and visit and come and say hello. And then in the fall, we'll have a grand opening. And I think there's big plans for that. I haven't heard yet, but you'll hear about it when the semester starts. So I thank you for your time.
Professor Cabiles, I think we do have one question in chat
yeah.
still. I'm scrolling to try to see it, but is it more important, or are there other aspects that are forgive me, trying to
Yes.
scroll here. Is the background massively important? Are there other aspects that they could be considered important? Like, and now I've lost it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see it
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the background massively important, or is there other aspects that could be considered more important. I think, and I've seen this before, because we've all taught online, and if you have a professional background, that's fine. But if you have like something in the background that's like cartoons or something like that, that might distract from the interviewer looking at you. So just make it something simple, and then so that you can focus. And eye contact is very important. Yes, you want to maintain contact. If you're nervous, and this is one thing Professor Worsham talked about, if you're nervous, you can say, you know what, I have my notes with me. Would you mind if I looked at my resume or my cover letter and what I sent you, so that I can, refresh my memory also. And people have done that. In face-to-face interviews, I've seen people take notes or look at their notes, and that's fine. So you can do it even if you're online, virtual.
I think the other thing too is if, for example, your home isn't going to be a great place to have an interview, maybe you can find another place like an open classroom at DVC, or reserve a room at your local library. So you can have a place where you're very much by yourself, and you're not going to be distracted, and you don't have to worry about that environment that might be distracting.
Yeah, so if you come to the Student Center, we do have the Zoom zone, which is where you can use cameras. If you don't want to, want to use your own laptop, you can come and do your interview there. We also have other classrooms. So if you feel like I don't want to, have my interview and then there's other people around me, we also have an office. So you can go in the office and if you want to use a computer there, have a meeting there, you can use that also. So, we're pretty flexible, and we want to accommodate everybody who comes into the center. So, yes.
Nancy has a question too.
Okay. Hi, Nancy.
Hi. Hi, Prof. Yeah, hi, Prof. Liz. I really appreciated this talk. I was busy writing notes. And would you remind us how do you do eye contact on Zoom? Would you just remind us that is it staring at the camera or looking at the other person?
Well, you can be distracted looking at the other person, but you want to be able to look at whoever's interviewing you. Yeah,
So
and answer the questions.
So when you're online, is staring at your camera the better idea, but that little dot?
Yeah, you can do that.
Play with a friend. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
we can do it. Me and you, Nancy.
Yeah, we can play with it. I'll come by. We can play with it. And then I wanted to share something. I had a short interview with someone at Sonoma State, and she was, this is just to share in case it helps anybody else. She was staying at her, she was on with family and didn't have a professional background. And she's like, oh, I apologize. There was stuff going on behind her, but she blurred her background. And that right away helps a lot. And probably you already know that, but it's simple.
Right. Yeah. So you can blur. You reminded me of something. And so I just want to make one more comment because we're near the closing time. I had an interview that we did, and it was a person who didn't have the background to do one of the tasks that we asked about in the interview. And so when we asked her the question, what she answered was, she gave the really good answer, I believe, and I think anybody can use this. She said that I've never done that before, but she said, I would imagine this is what you do. And I was like, oh my gosh, so I was like thinking, if I ever had that situation, I would say, I would imagine this is what you do. And you think about, what your skills are and how you would, like, say, for example, customer service, or if you saw somebody, if you had a customer that was upset, go, well, I've never had that before, but this is what I would do. I would ask them, what their inquiry was, or what, because sometimes there's a reason behind what they're just asking for, and maybe you can accommodate that. So I thought that that was the greatest answer because she didn't have that experience, but she was able to think of something of how to answer, think of a way to answer that question.
Thank you. Glad I made it.
Yeah, I'm glad you came by. And then I think Professor Tran has a survey for you to complete.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Cabiles. I think Professor Tran's going to ask people to complete a survey if they have the time. What we do is we get feedback on our workshops, which makes us better to be able to do this again. And then also you can give us suggestions for topics we can cover in the future. And those of you who need to go at 6, we understand that. We do have a question that someone's asking right now, so we'll stand for a few minutes. But those of you who need to leave, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Professor Cabiles.
Thank you. Hi, Grayson, do you have a question?
Yeah, I raised my hand and then I realized I